Hi everyone, BritSimon here. So I wanted to record a video to explain some thoughts about the DV2027 entry period. There's much confusion and speculation and bad information, frankly, about the whole thing. So I wanted to try and sort of explain what I think is the situation currently, and dispel any sort of concerns or rumors that you may have or have heard. So yes, the DV27 entry period is obviously delayed. On September 16th or thereabouts, there was an announcement that the government were planning to implement a $1 fee to basically for the entry process itself. It's not entirely clear from their statement whether that's $1 per entry or $1 per person on the entry, but I suspect it's the former. I suspect it'll be implemented with a $1 fee per entry, and that derivatives will be included on that entry for the $1. There's also been some speculation that that fee might be variable, that fee would go up in later years, or perhaps even in the initial implementation. I wouldn't be surprised if that's true. I think that once they've implemented a fee, it'll probably be something they revisit, and perhaps the fees could increase in the future. But first of all, they have to implement the fee. They didn't give themselves enough time. So if you watched my video where I talked about the announcement of the proposed rule to implement the $1 fee, I pointed out then that I didn't think they had time to implement that and keep within the normal timelines for the entry period, right? It's fairly complicated. To do what they're doing is pretty complicated. I can tell you that because of recent experience with the DV2027.com photo app that I've introduced just recently, which is to aid you taking your photos for the DV lottery entry. And in that new app, I became very painfully aware of how complicated it is to roll out a payment system for all the countries in the world. It's very difficult, and so that's what the government are going through. Now, basically, I'm talking about the payment thing because I think that is the most reliable reason, the reliable rumor, the most likely rumor, if you like, of why we're delayed. I think it is because the government are trying to implement that new rule and the new payment. I don't think the government are going to implement the passport rule in this year. But the longer the entry period is delayed, the more likely that second thing would be, that they could actually implement a passport rule. But it's all very much speculation at the moment. We don't know. In fact, there's even been speculation that the entry period will be delayed right into next year. Curtis Morrison and I are having a little friendly bet about this. I personally believe that they will implement the entry period this year in 2025, either probably in November or perhaps during December. I think that's roughly when they're going to do it. Curtis believes they're going to push it back until, right into next year. So we'll see who's right about that, but it's really just speculation right now. We have no formal and no official document to base this speculation on. Okay, and that's worrying some people. Then just the other day, let me just show you what was published, and we can talk about that. Just the other day, in the visa bulletin that's just been published, this was the visa bulletin for November 2025 that was published just a couple of days ago. There was the information in there about the selectee numbers for DV 2026, which was expected, and they've put that information in there. And then there's this statement here. It says dates for the DV 2027 program. Registration period will be widely publicized in the coming months. And then those interested in entering the DV 2027 program should check the Department of State's diversity visa webpage in the coming months. And some people have latched onto that term, the coming months, to assume that the fact that they didn't say the coming month or coming weeks or something like that meant that it's going to be months away. Okay, now don't get excited about this statement. This statement to me confirms that there will be a DV27 entry period, and frankly, there has to be. It's a part of the immigration law. It's not something they can just make up, their minds about and just do if they feel like it. They are required to do the entry period because they're required to actually have this lottery process. It's a part of the immigration law. They can't just stop it like that, right? But this statement is not new. Like if we go back and we look at, for example, the September visa bulletin from last year, and we scroll down, this is when the selectee numbers were published. This is basically the same information. And hey presto, dates for the DV26 program registration period will be widely publicized in the coming months. Those interested in entering the DV26 program should check the Department of State's diversity visa webpage in the coming months. Okay, that was what they said last year. And you can go back and you can pick pretty much any year you want. I went back just for a giggle and found the DV2020 statement. It's identical, right? Again, coming months, okay, coming months for DV2022. They always say this, guys. It's the same statement they say every time. It's just a template announcement. It doesn't mean anything. You don't have to read very much into this statement, okay? So don't get wound up about the coming months thing. That's normal. One piece of sort of slight reporting or speculation I did read, which I found to be fairly credible actually, was from this Kishore Panthi, I think it is, who wrote this article with regard to the delay. And Kishore is I think a reasonable journalist, so I take this with some credibility, but it's not an official announcement. And it talks about a spokesperson. So a spokesperson told NEP York, in other words, Kishore, the diversity visa DV program is established by statute, and the Department of State will continue to implement the program as required by law. Yes, that's a very true statement. And so to me, it lends some credibility. This year, there will be changes to the DV entry process. Okay, that's got some credibility. I think that's true. And then one of the confirmed changes is the implementation of the new $1 electronic registration fee. And the spokesperson did not confirm that this fee was the cause of the delay, nor did they confirm or deny that the government shutdown influenced the start date. The government shutdown had nothing to do with the start date being delayed, because the start date was delayed when they didn't announce the start date in September, and the shutdown didn't start until after September. It started on October 1st, right? And so there was already a delay built into the program because they hadn't announced the start of the program. So we can ignore the shutdown as being the reason for the delay. That's not the reason for the delay. We know that there is some credible information and reporting that says that the delay, that the program will go ahead, but the delay is probably, you can put two and two together, the delay is probably for the implementation of the new registration fee. Even though the spokesperson didn't confirm that, I believe that that's probably the case. So what does that mean for us in terms of when there will be a DV27 entry period? Like I say, my guess is probably we'll see an entry period in November, possibly December. My confidence rating in that is pretty high because the announcement of the results would normally be in May of next year. That May announcement of the results could get pushed back, just like the entry period is being pushed back, but it can't be pushed back very much longer. Because in a normal year, when they do the entry period and it finishes up in, let's say, early November, they draw the results in as early as December, and during December, January, February, March, and so on, they're actually going through processes to filter out some of the bad entries and disqualify all of those people who either applied fraudulently or didn't apply with the correct photograph and so on. And all of that work has to happen before the announcement of the results, which normally comes in May. And then in May, people will start submitting their DS260s, and that processing continues and happens before the first interviews are scheduled in August. And so there isn't very much time for them to mess around with. They're either going to have to say, you know what, we can't implement this $1 fee and go ahead and publish the entry period and open the entry period, or they're going to implement the fee and begin the entry period, but they can't delay it very much longer. They need to get on with this work. They have to. This process actually needs all the months that it needs, and if they push all of the dates too far, it'll push all of the dates, including the May announcement of the results. Maybe that May announcement becomes June. Well, that means there's less time for DS260 processing before they schedule the first cases in August, and so on. It will begin to compress the year, and that's something they can't have happen if they're to run the lottery process in an organized manner, which is, I believe, what they want to do. And so, you know, that's why I think it'll be announced fairly soon. I'm expecting the announcement of the dates to come in the next week or two, and then we'll see the entry period probably in November. But, you know, maybe I'll be a little bit wrong on that. Maybe it will be a little bit later than that, and we'll do the entry period in December. But that seems extremely late to me. So anyway, that's my perspective. That's my opinion. Let me just stress, all of this is speculation, right? We're all speculating about this. Nobody knows. There are people that believe that they've got inside information or something. I don't know. But nobody has any good information on this. Only the State Department knows. And so, you know, you can choose to just be patient, or you can believe any speculation you want to believe, whatever you want. But don't worry, the DV2027 entry period will be around. It will open. And when it does open, of course, you'll be using the best photo site on the internet, won't you? dvphototool.com. Go and play with that. It's a great site. I'm very proud of the result, and it will give you the best chance of being picked in the lottery, because it will give you a compliant photo, and that's very important. More announcements about that to come. And as soon as they announce the lottery period, don't worry, you'll be hearing about the DV photo tool from me. You know, you'll be hearing about that again. I'll demonstrate how that works. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening today. Appreciate it. Bye-bye now.